Oh boy. Here's my finale review for season one of Loki. I watched episode six last night because I stayed up really late till like 3 a.m. because I was not sleeping until I saw this final episode because I just knew something big was being planned for the finale. And boy, oh boy, what was there something big planned. So this is a ginormous spoiler warning for anyone who has not watched this final episode of Loki. If you have not watched the episode 6 of Loki, do not watch any further. You need to watch it before you watch this because I will go very deep into spoilers for the whole season as well as the phase 4 of Marvel, because this is very important to what happens next in the MCU. So, 3, 2, 1, you have been warned. Time for spoilers. Multiverse of Madness is official. It is all set in motion in this final episode, and oh my god, I knew something big was planned, but I had no idea that it was this whole storyline that they were going into with all of Phase 4, with Spider-Man 3, No Way Home, Ant-Man 3, Quantumania, and now Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. This episode is officially the beginning of that whole era of the MCU, because fucking Sylvie had to be a selfish little brat and kill what's his. They don't name him Kang, but it's a different variant of Kang the Conqueror, who's a big Marvel villain and is pretty much going to be the cause of what's going to be all of the conflict within the next phase of Marvel. Because he's in the comics, he is one of the most powerful villains or characters in the Marvel universe. He can basically go across all of time and basically mess shit up like a bunch. And yeah, and Jonathan Majors in this episode, who plays a variant of Kang, who I think is named Immortus. If I'm wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong, but don't be too mean. Jonathan Majors in this episode is fucking fantastic. Like, I knew he was gonna be good because he was announced to play Kang many months ago, and when he popped up, I audibly yes, I love this actor. He's great in Lovecraft Country, and he's so much fun in this episode. He's not at all. He doesn't act like a villain at all. He just acts like kind of like an egocentric like fanboy when he meets Loki and Sylvie, and there's a lot of build up in this episode to finally revealing who was behind the Timekeepers and the TVA, and what's we haven't really seen at this point who was really in charge of everything that's happening in this ginormous like time sphere that the show sets up. And we finally know that it's a variant of Kang the Conqueror, who's known as Immortus. And he is basically the cause of he's basically the Timekeeper's secret, that he basically set up those Timekeeper kind of animatronics in episode 4, I think it was, and he's the main cause of all of it. And he provides such a great screen presence in this episode, and he gives Loki and Sylvie the idea of where he came from, and that he's basically from the future in like the 30th century, and he gives them a choice of either killing him and causing a ginormous multiversal all-out war, or they have to take his place in the ultimate Timekeeper position and basically rule all of the multiverse. And Loki tries to be the level-headed one. Finally, after years of being the one who causes all the trouble, is finally the one who's actually kind of trying to keep peace in this one moment. And what I really, really loved about this show is that it finally gave Loki a real character arc, and that we haven't really seen that in any movie before this. Even movies like Ragnarok that kind of give more of a character to Loki, it ultimately ends up being he betrays them anyway in the end, and he gives obviously the Tesseract to Thanos in Infinity War, and we think he dies. But this show gives you finally a greater sense of who Loki is, and that and it really gives you a great character arc finally for that character. And I'm really, really curious about what they do with season 2. And I'm just really curious about how Phase 4 is going to fix this, whether it's going to be Ant-Man Quantumania, where it's going to be, or it's just going to have to be all of these different heroes, whether it's Doctor Strange, Ant-Man, Spider-Man, and Loki together trying to fix this gigantic conflict that has arisen, or if it's actually going to be Loki finally fixing the multiverse of madness. And man, there's so many great moments in this episode I can't even count. That moment where Loki and Sylvie are fighting to decide what happens with Kang, and such a great little monologue that Tom Hiddleston gives to Sylvie, breaking down, like, actually legitimately desperate to change her mind from unleashing this horror that she ends up unleashing. And it got me. Like, I was actually like, God, that hit me. That hit me in the feels. And of course they kiss, which I knew was going to happen at some point in the show. Might have been weird, but it was still a really great moment. And it does serve a purpose to keep in line with Loki's character, and that he can only truly end up loving himself, and it's very difficult for him to truly love someone else that isn't him. And I think that's it's really tragic, but at the same time it's consistent, and it keeps up with that character. So Sylvie ends up stabbing Kang in the end, and she ends up unleashing. Well, first of all, that little moment of Jonathan Majors telling Sylvie, "See you soon," and because he knows that it's just going to be infinite versions of him, and definitely not as nice as him versions, and very much sinister. It was a very sinister moment, and it gave me the chills. Man, and that whole sequence of the timeline splitting up into like infinite numbers of different branches, like I literally was watching it like that the entire time. It was, I didn't expect this level of crazy shit to happen in this final episode. I was genuinely caught off guard. And this officially changes everything in the MCU as we know it for the next couple of years or so. Man, it's gonna be wild. And this, I think, confirms that definitely Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield are gonna be in Spider-Man No Way Home, and that this whole episode confirmed that for me. Definitely happening. And man, I cannot wait to see what happens next in all the MCU movies going forward. And it makes me think, watching the Eternals trailer, when they were talking in the trailer about we have never really shown ourselves to the world or to the universe, and now we have to do something about it. And it makes me think, is the Eternals movie gonna be tied into this somehow? I have to think it would be. And I think the only MCU movie I can think of that probably isn't tied to this whole gigantic multiverse thing is probably Shang-Chi. I think that Shang-Chi is just going to be like a standalone movie, which I think is good. I think we need at least a couple just standalone movies that aren't tied to this whole just gigantic franchise like event. And I'm very excited. Overall, guys, this whole Loki season 1 is just phenomenal. Like, this is easily the best Disney Plus Marvel show they have done so far. Way better than WandaVision, in my opinion, and way better than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The reason why I say that is because even though I really enjoyed both WandaVision and Falcon, is that even though there were some great episodes in both those shows, they at least had like a couple episodes in those seasons that I ultimately didn't like very much. I didn't have that problem at all with this Loki season. I think every episode does a great job at keeping its entertainment value, and it's also each episode adds something to the story, to the characters, in some way or another. And this final episode is the ultimate gigantic world-ending level event that sets the whole franchise in motion. And I think I cannot wait to see what they do with season 2. I think it's going to be, if it's as good as this season, I think this is going to be one of the greatest shows ever made. I had so much fun watching this show, and I'm gonna be really sad that this is not gonna that I have to wait because I don't think there's a release date set for season 2 of Loki, but I'm gonna be really hurting now that there's not gonna be new episodes coming out in the next few Wednesdays. I'm gonna give Loki season 1 a 10 out of 10. I fucking love this show. Great show. Woo! Crazy.